And for the first time, the Swans are onward to victory.
Welcome back to A Bevy of Bloods, a fan podcast of the Sydney Swans Football Club.
So to all you loyal Swans out there who just can't get enough of the red and the white,
fluff up your tail feathers and settle in for a potentially biased yarn about all things to do with our beloved Bloods.
G'day there, Signets and Swanlings. Welcome back to A Bevy of Bloods, the premier podcast for the Sydney Swans AFLW. Chris can't be with us this week, unfortunately. I'm not going to speculate as to why. I'm Steve-O. I'm joined by Jen. Welcome, Jen.
That's right. This week we don't know where he is. He's a man of mystery. We don't want to guess what he's up to, but we all know that it's something probably dark and mysterious. But welcome back to the podcast. Remember, if you enjoy what you hear, make sure to give us a like and a follow. You lucky loyal Swans fan, we're here to wrap up this week's AFL game against the West Coast Eagles. So let's kick things off with a quick game recap. Over to you, Steve-O.
Thanks, Jen. Yeah, it was great. It was a good day, wasn't it? I mean, it was a bit wet, but it was a massive win out at the Beating Heart Henson Park, and we got a huge win to wrap up the season, 46 points against the West Coast. Final score 10-14-74 to 4-4-28. So, yeah, Jen, what did you think?
Yeah, such a great win to end the season. It's always great to finish on a high. Just get that confidence back in and get that hunger ignited for the 2025 competition. It was such an amazing send-off for two of our star players, for both Alana Woodward and also to Brooke Lachlan, who was so great, who kicked our first goal. She almost got that last goal after the siren, finishing with one goal too. So good. But yeah, the girls just seemed absolutely up and about. The ball was pinging about really smoothly. And then Bella Smith kicking 5-1, Priv 3-3, and then getting some names who we haven't seen that much in this season back in the side, like Beraldson, Hillier, Holsiger, Cooper. It's great to see them back for that last game. What about you? What did you think?
Oh, it was exciting, wasn't it? I mean, to see the girls playing such bold, fast, free-flowing football was really nice. And it's been a tough season. Let's not forget that we've had a pretty tough run this year compared to last year, especially. And we came into the season with a lot of excitement, a lot of hope, and then we've had key players missing from injury, and we lost a handful of games by only a couple of points. It was a really sort of mixed bag of a season, really. So to finish off like that, I thought was really nice. I really enjoyed watching it. And you know, after the first quarter, which was even, I think it was 2 goals each at quarter time. We banged on the quick 3 goals to start the second quarter, and then the game was pretty much controlled from then. I thought they played really mature football, and it's a very young team. Like some of those ones you just mentioned, like you said, some of the ones that haven't played that much. I mean, Hausiger is 19, Hillier is 20, then McCarthy also hasn't played a huge amount this year. She's 20, and they all got really good game time. Were part of a very strong, controlled win. And then, you know, those 3 quick goals started the second quarter. They kicked off, but then they kept hunting them all the way. They didn't just go, okay, we've won, off we go. They really dominated and finished strong. I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was so good even during this week having a chat with Ham, and she was saying, you know, the girls aren't just going to lie down and roll over, and I'm so glad that they didn't. It was so great to see them go out there hunting, and they just look like they were having a great time. What was your overview of the game if we go into that meatier part of it?
Yeah, you could see the fun. Hey, that's interesting you say that, because that's what I felt watching it on the telly, and you were there live, weren't you? You saw it in the flesh.
Yeah. In the flesh on the little rainy hill. Yep.
Yeah. And I got a sense watching it, and I watched it on replay because I couldn't watch it live. It was on at like 6 or 7 in the morning or something here, and so I missed it live, and I knew the score because I wasn't going to wait. Like, there's no way, because I knew I couldn't watch it live until almost a day later. There was no way that I was going to avoid bloody scores and not know how they went. So I checked the scores and I saw the margin. I thought, whoa, okay, I'm looking forward to this one. And yeah, so because I knew the result too, there was a different sort of sense of enjoyment sitting down watching it, I think. than when you're watching live, because you know what footy fans are like. We think that we're up by 40 points and we're still worried they're going to come back in the last 5 minutes. You know, that's the nature of loving a footy team, is you never feel safe until the game's over, and even then you're not sure if it really happened. But
Yep.
but it was great. I really got to enjoy watching it, and just the way they seem to enjoy playing with each other and for each other. Like some of their efforts in the last quarter, where you know you're up by 40 points, it's bloody raining, there's 5 minutes to go, and you've still got players that are really busting a gut to go over there and support a teammate, to make the tackle, make the shepherd, you know, doing all the little things of corralling. It was really nice to see.
Yeah, I really thought there was so many times in that game they were running in waves. You could just see so much red and white around the football. And as you said, I think a lot of the girls, they wanted to end the season well. And also we do have to think about moving into the next year. So there's probably some players playing for their spots. So they've got to show that they're still gut running. They've got to play to the very end. And I think as a testament to Woodward and Lachlan, send them off well, have a really great game to the end of the season. And I think that's what they did. And it was really fun being there. As you said, like the rain was coming down, but nobody left. As soon as it started raining, all the crowd on the hill were just like, nah, we're sticking this one out. They're playing so well. They're moving the ball between each other better than they have for the last couple of weeks. I don't know whether that's West Coast weren't bringing as much heat as the last couple of games, the other teams, but they just seemed to link up so much nicer down the park, and their kicks were hitting, and they weren't just dumb kicking. They were actually looking for each other, lowering their eyes, and yeah, like Gardner back out there to her best, 27 disposals, 8 inside 50s. We've missed her. We've missed her so much this year.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah, just composed under pressure. Hurley composed under pressure. Kennedy, 13 tackles and
That's
also
huge.
6 clearances. Like the fucking shovel was doing her job in there. And yeah, it was just amazing. Like there was a moment, I think, out of the centre, McAvoy had a little run through there again. She got a handball, but it was out in front of Kennedy, like to her advantage. Kennedy again, handball out in front to Berylton, who then just pivot, uses her speed, uses her speed, and just came back inside and bang, a beautiful delivery to Priv for her second mark of the game. So yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, they did. Hey, they connected really well. Like, I'm not sure how it looked at ground level. Watching on TV, it seemed like, because there'd been a lot of stagnant footy in the last month and a half. Like a lot of, like you said, sort of just, you know, just lobbing it to a contest, not really identifying a target. And there seemed to be a lot of times on Saturday. Was it on Saturday or Sunday? I watched it. I watched it on delay, so I'm not actually sure when. Was it on Saturday, the game?
Saturday, yep.
Yeah, yeah. So so watching it on the telly, a lot of the time, I think our players, like our halfbacks and our midfielders, you know, our wingers and stuff, all the ones who are bringing the ball forward, they weren't just doing that very stagnant play. There was a lot of movement up the field, and there was a lot of like really directive kicking, which was nice. Like Gardner is very good at this, Hurley is very good at this, Ham is very good at this. They identify where they want their kick to go, and then say, right, I'm going to put it here. Now you get there. And I think that that our forwards, especially Privatelli and Smith, just feasted on it. It was really good to watch.
Yeah, they were amazing. They just kept reading the ball so well. And even watching it back a little bit today, just to get our notes together, they were looking for the leading channels. You could see the halfbacks or the midfielders, if they had like a free kick, like trying to do the sneaky like head nod, like lead this way. And they would, and it would pay off again and again. I think in the fourth, Heads did that, and I think that maybe it was the fourth or the third. Heads did that, and it went straight into Priv in a leading channel, and then she played on quick and got that snap goal, her third goal. Just little things like that, and yeah, as you said, no loopy handballs. They were like, what's the word I'm looking for? They were decisive. They had some
Yeah.
they had some meat behind them. Weren't just like just hitting the knuckle and dribbling across the ground and becoming chaos and a ground ball get. It was like to a player, clean handball. It just opens up the whole game. It was great to watch.
Yeah, and it makes me feel good about 2025 too, because especially after a season where we only won 3 games out of 11, I think it was you know, if we'd come out and we got done by West Coast at home, I would have ended the season feeling pretty flat. Instead, I'm thinking, okay, 2025 is coming. We've got two superstar All-Australians coming back. Okay, we've lost two very experienced veterans, but that means that younger players will have opportunities. And the draft is meant to be stacked this year too. All the reports on the upcoming draft is that there's some really, really good talent. We've finished 15th, so we're going to have a pretty high pick in that draft. What, pick 4, I guess, assuming there's no like compensations or whatever that get thrown in. So we're going to have a very, very good elite young player also to throw into the mix, hopefully.
Yeah. And as you said, like we only lost a few games this year by a few points. Like we were in it. If we just tipped that scale, some of these girls have shown how much they've improved in one season. Had another season under their belt playing with each other again, and then add in these new little superstars. It's going to be an exciting 2025. But we'll recap the season in another one.
Yeah.
Any key stats you want to bring up?
It was a good day to look at stats because we had a win, so you always get more excited looking at what we did well. I'm going to look again at what those stats that Scott Gowans brought up in the Brisbane game. We talked last week about how at quarter time Scott Gowans had his whiteboard out and he had 4 categories that he went through with the team at the quarter time break, and that was tackles, contested possessions, uncontested marks, and pressure. Now, pressure we don't know because we don't have access to that stat through the AFL apps and the freely available stuff, but the other 3 we do. We won tackles 74 to 66. 74 is a lot of tackles to make in a game. Like you said, Tanya Kennedy made 13 by herself, which I'm going to do some very quick math. Chris isn't here to help us out. I think that's roughly 1 tackle every 5 minutes, give or take. Chris can correct us on the next episode.
I mean, what a beast, what a machine.
Yeah, that's huge. 13 tackles out of 74. That means that, she's doing a huge amount of the tackling for the team and also winning the footy on top of it. So we won tackles, which was good with a very high number. And they tackled 66 times. They tackled us a lot. And I think that we rode that pressure very well. So they might have laid 66 tackles, but they didn't slow the girls down. And then 18 tackles to 7 inside 50. Last week we talked about our tackles inside 50 were very low. We got 18 this week, and that you could see it on the telly that like we were locking the ball in the forward 50 and the forward half a lot more than we have in previous weeks. Quite a few times in the last month or so, we've seen the ball just get walked out of there way too easily. Like very little pressure, and they've been able to clear their lines, the opposition. But this time, we got it there, and West Coast had a really hard time getting out of there, and a lot of that's that forward pressure. 18 tackles in the forward 50 is pretty good. And then another one of his was uncontested marks. We won that by +6, which is good. We took a lot of marks in space, and I think that they spread themselves. They used the field really well. And then contested possessions, we won +17, which again is a big effort. So all of those key stats that he was talking about a week ago, they won and won well, some of them.
Yeah, 100% agree because the disposals and the disposal efficiency was actually pretty even, which I thought was a bit of a shock stat when I had a look at that. But yeah, the difference was Swans had 158 kicks versus their 130, which kind of goes to show that maybe we just had a little bit more time with the ball in our hands, not as much pressure, had that little extra time to make a decision with it versus they definitely had more handballs than we had. So, and then that led to 41 inside 50s compared to their 24, and then 17 marks in inside 50 versus 11. So that's where we got all of our scores from. It was just, as you said, that forward pressure. We actually had a chance this week to set up the wall, set up that defensive wall, and not just have it ping out and have a foot race down the other end. So I was very surprised that the disposals were pretty even because I thought we definitely dominated possession. It seemed like we had control of the game from the second quarter onwards. So
it did, didn't it? It really did.
Yeah. I did want to do a little shout out talking about that, all those marks inside 50 and then leading to all our delightful goals inside 50. I don't know if you saw on the AFL app, Bella Smith was named in the team of the week.
Oh, nice. I didn't see it, no.
Yeah, so it was great to see, as I said, like 2 goals for the season so far and then 5 in this one game. And she was up and about. It was so good to see her there. And as you said, exciting to have. We've been talking about another key forward just to let Priv have a chance to work up the field and I think we saw that as well. Priv was able to do that relieving mark up the field, a bit more of that centre half forward type of situation, and Bella a bit more maybe that full forward, and they were switching around when someone else, give yourself a little breather. And I think it just meant they had more gas in their tank to do those beautiful leads. But I think it was great little nod for Bella for getting that team of the week, and also being part of the reason there may have been a scuffle at the 3/4 time siren. What do you think
Is
about
that
that
what
one?
that was? It was hard to see because on the replay you never really see the whole build up, right? So I was wondering what happened there.
Yeah, there's kind of a little, there's a bit of tit for tat happening. There's a bit of a scuffle and a stoppage just before Bella got a free or got a mark, and then there was some words said, I think, to one of the girls as she kicked it, like maybe a yeah right in their face, and then she shoved the West Coast girl, and then the West Coast girl came straight back and shoved it to the ground, which could have really been another free kick for Bella. And then, the Hamilton sisters were there pretty quickly, and the
They
whole
were,
team
weren't
jumped in there.
they? They went back down, those two. I'll tell you what. So,
I love it. Ham was in there. Like, all the girls were just, yeah, they had fire in their belly. And actually, I saw TK maybe be a bit more of the mature player, and I was like, all right, that's enough. It's 3/4 time. Get out of here. Come on, we're in the lead. Let's not give anything away here. But
yeah,
yeah,
it's one of those things, like especially from a coach's point of view, that you don't want your players to get involved in that shit because you give away free kicks. Luckily, it was in our forward half of the ground, so if we did give away a free kick, it wasn't going to cost us. It was
yeah,
West Coast that got sucked in. So sometimes you're sort of maybe trying to draw them in and maybe get something extra because it's in your side your forward 50. But yeah, as much as you tell the players and everything, don't get sucked into that. At the same time, you do get to see which ones do fly the flag and that sort of back up your team. And I remember as a young player when I first started playing seniors, I was like 16 and I was skinny and small, and people used to go after it, and like the big guys from the teams, and it felt good to know that your teammates had your back, and I
yeah.
saw a bit of that in the team in that little incident.
Yeah, I think a lot of camaraderie in that team, and even just the way back to Lachlan. I know she didn't quite get that goal on the fourth after the whole game, but it looked like she didn't even care. She was
Nah.
doing a little dance when she got that mark. She was just so happy for the team and the way that they ran around her and got to her. Everyone, it did feel like a little bit of that sisterhood that we were talking to Ham about. They seem uh, even though there may not have been the linkages and connections that we were hoping to watch on the field this year, I think there's definitely connections that are really strong off the field and in the locker rooms this year. So that was exciting to see.
Poor Brooklyn, we jinxed her too. I think last week we were talking up how she held the record for 7 goals, most ever in an AFLW game, and then she missed the last 2 points in her last game to not get the final goal. We should have kept quiet.
Any big plays that you want to shout out for the game?
Oh, it was a great day for big players, wasn't it? There's one that I'm going to start with. We've got quite a long list actually, but there's one that I'm going to start with, which is in the first quarter, which I thought really sort of set the tone and got me excited. And having said that, I did know that we won when I was watching the game, but still. And she's my favourite player in the team, Sophia Hurley. Cutting through the lines in the first quarter, she gets the ball, someone on the wing, kicks it long, goes back, gets it back, delivers inside 50, continues to move up, pressure. Like that was a beautiful piece of play. She's such a hard runner, and I think what I saw in this game too that really excited me about her is that she was really cutting lines. A lot of the time we see her as a sort of like a ball winner, a bit of a distributor. She does smart things and she uses the ball well. But against the West Coast, she was really breaking lines open, which I love to see. I love players who just cut lines, and she was doing that. And then the other one that I liked, and there were several examples of this, was Cynthia Hamilton's just hunting tackles. You wouldn't want to get the footy in 10 metres of space and know that she was anywhere in the vicinity, because you know that she's just got those trackers on you, and she's
Yep.
going to corral and she's just going to drill you. She's going to wait until the time. Like, she doesn't commit too early. She's from Canberra, right? Isn't she?
Yep. Yep.
Um,
Canberra. I think
yeah,
Queen Band.
I wonder
Yep.
if she's played any other sports, like any rugby league, rugby union. I'm curious to know where her tackling technique has been developed, because she really knows when to tackle. She doesn't give that
Yeah.
little chance to get around. She just gets you until you're vulnerable and then crunch. And
Yeah.
she's so good at it.
Shuts down that space really quickly,
Yeah.
doesn't give you a chance to sidestep, and looks like she really enjoys it. I think she keeps trying to trick us though. She had the white white ribbon in
Yeah,
this week, and it's
I
like,
saw
we
that.
know it's you.
Yeah, she's trying to be stealth with a giant white ribbon in her hair. And there was a
Yeah.
couple less actually, because a couple of the girls who had red ribbons last week didn't play, so it was only Sophia and Ella Heads ripping the
Yeah.
red ribbons this week. Wow, I can't believe I said that fast.
Well
Red
done.
ribbon. How about you? What were some of your favorite moments?
Yeah, I know the one you were talking about, that Sophia Hurley cutting through. That was what led to Lachlan's first goal, actually. The one you're talking about, quarter one. I'm going to say is my biggest. I'm going to say Bella Smith's fourth goal. It was an end-to-end goal. Started down the back with BT spoiling. Once again, Hurley cut off West Coast handball to somebody else. Just one-hander, took it out of the air. A long handball out into space for Cynthia Hamilton again. White ribbon of death this week. Handball back to Gardner. Handball back to Hurley. And then there was about 5 of them. They were all running together. It was that real wave running I was talking about, which looked fantastic down the park. And then she just measured her kick. She pulled back on it, didn't just blast away, kicked it out in front of Smith, who pretty brazenly, she was about 35, 40 out, turned and snapped from
Yeah,
that.
that's right.
I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I thought, what are you doing, man? Stop! Like, go back.
I
kick the
know,
goal.
just bosh. She was like, I know
Yeah.
where the goal sticks are today. I'm on. My radar's on. So that was my big play of the day.
Maybe she thought she had time for another one. She didn't want to waste any clock. She was like, right, we're getting on with this.
Yeah, or it was close to the end. I think maybe that one. I think they did want to get it to Lachlan quickly. So maybe she was like, quick,
Yeah,
okay, let's
true.
get this
Yeah.
in. Let's get this out.
And they did. They got it to Lachlan, and then she bloody had the shot, and she missed it anyway. It was
I know. Damn it.
it was kind of I somehow liked it even more. Somehow the fact that she did miss it and just didn't seem entirely bothered was good.
Yeah, it was so good to see. And they even, as the other retiree at halftime, which I thought was, it was great to see. They interviewed Woodward at halftime as well, and they had it on the loudspeaker around the ground. So I think that was really nice
Cool.
to at least give her a send off as well. And she's been pretty outstanding for the Swannies after making her way from. Oh, she's played 3 teams. I want to say St Kilda, Richmond, and then us. But yeah, so it was a really fun day at Henson Park, and yeah, all the kids were about. Everyone was really cheery. Everyone was in such a good mood. I think it was contagious. What they were doing on the field was contagious, and no one was moving their bums from the hill, even though we were saturated.
Yeah, it looked like a good day. It looked like a wet day, but a good day. How about the best players? We could probably talk about our favourite players for hours, but let's kick on to the final votes. These might be decisive. We don't know because Chris has been very closely guarding the vote tallies. So we could actually just go back through the episodes and tally it ourselves, but I haven't done that.
But Chris loves the calculator, so we'll leave it to him.
Yeah. Well, there's been no maths this week either. Oh no, we did a bit of maths. The one tackle every 5 minutes.
Okay.
Anyway, best players. So this is the last votes for the medal for this year. So I guess we'll come up with a combined 3-2-1. But looking at the run sheet, we noticed before we started recording that we do actually have some disagreement this week. And poor Chris, he's been hoping for it for 10 weeks. And the 1 week he's not here, we don't agree on the best players. So maybe you go, Jean. Give your best 3 in order.
All right,
maybe
we'll give
first. Yeah.
just my 3 points or the best 3.
Just the best 3, and then we'll come back to it.
Okay.
And we can
I
maybe
did
talk
think
about them all together.
I did think how we're going to adjudicate this week because he's not here, and yeah, we similar names in our lists, but different combinations or different points for each person. So, 3 points for me. I was going to give it to Bella Smith. Obviously, 5 goals, 1. Even though it was only 8 disposals, she was damaging. Like, she was also part of 6 score involvements through those 8 disposals. So you think 6 of those were that, and her disposal efficiency was 74%. Her mark, I just thought, you need goal kickers to win a game. If she doesn't kick 5-1, it's a different story. So she's my 3. Gardner, loved having her back. She's my number 2. 27 disposals, 7 of those contested. I think, game high, so she was the highest for both teams. 20 kicks, 7 handballs, 1 mark, 6 tackles, 2 clearances, and a pretty high disposal efficiency. And then it's my girl TK. So I love it, but I think she deserves it. She had 18 disposals, 11 of those contested, the 13 tackles, the game high for anyone, 6 clearances, also game high for anyone, and she had our AFL fantasy points at 104, the game high for anyone, as long with 5 score involvements. So, yep. My next one's my honourable mentions is your girl Hurley. I mean, we've spoken about her. She looks like she's got so much time, which I know it just goes to show how skillful she is. I remember a couple of years ago chatting with a girl who I used to play with and compete against, and she was also like that. It was just like she just seemed to have so much time in the world. And the thing that she said to me, which I'll never forget, is you've just got to have the ball in your hand all the time. You need to get to a point where the ball is actually just an extension of your arm. So you're not wasting time or energy figuring out where that ball is in your hand. You don't even have to look at it. You're self-adjusting subconsciously, and it just gives you time to look up and see what your options are in front of you. And it seems like that's what Hurley's got. Obviously, she's got so much natural talent, but I think you can tell that she puts a lot of time and effort into her skills. So she's fantastic. And then other honourable mention, Priv. 3 goals, 3. She really opened up that game in the second quarter. She's a nightmare to mark when she gets those leading channels and she gets those balls delivered into her low and to her advantage. And then if she gets a mark in that forward 50, she rarely misses. So, yeah. A lot of names in there, a lot of information. So back to it. 3 points Smith, 2 points Gardner, 1 point TK.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I have the same 5 players, but in a different order. And controversially, I don't have Smith in my top 3, which is something I feel terrible about. But I wanted to put all of them in there, and I couldn't squeeze them all. I had Gardner for 3, Kennedy for 2, and then I had Privatelli for 1, actually. I really liked the way that she, especially in that second quarter, which was when we took the game away from them. The first quarter was pretty even. She was solid. But in that second quarter, she dominated. I think she kicked, did she kick 2 of her 3 goals in that quarter, and then a bunch of points? She could have kicked like 4 and maybe even 5 in the quarter if she'd not missed a couple that she most of the time would have hit. And I thought that her role in that second quarter, especially when the game was still like pretty hot, like live, before it blew out later, and she was also good in the third and fourth quarters, but she was especially strong in that first part of the game when it was there to win. So I really liked her game, and I liked the way that she marks the ball on the goal line, she marks the ball on the wing, she marks the ball at centre half forward, she marks the ball at half back, she marks the ball everywhere. I'd love to see her heat map, actually. We don't have that, unfortunately, on the AFL app for the stats. I'd love to see the heat map of where she is on the field.
I'm going to see if I can have a look at that on one here. I thought I could see where they are.
Oh, if
you
you
keep
can
going with your ones.
I'd love to see her just generally, because I think she works so hard as a forward. And what was good, like Jen said earlier, was that because Smith was doing such a good job in that like forward 30, 40-ish part of the ground, it meant that Privatelli didn't need to do all the work up and then work all the way back and all the way out. So it really balanced well. So they're my top 3. And then I had Smith as a very, very, very close 4th best. I mean, she could have been 1st, she could have been 2nd, could have been 3rd. I had Smith 4th, and then Sophia Hurley I had as 5th. So we need to figure out who we're going to give the votes to, Jen.
I'll just pop that in there. Priv 81% in the offensive half, in the forward half, and 19% in the defensive half. So it doesn't give the proper heat tracker, but just time in each half, which, as you said, she moves up and down the field so well, and she's a nightmare to defend. So she did do well. Well, the Bob. We did come up with a little idea, which was an accumulation of our tallies. If we maybe start that our 3 points is actually 5 points, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we tally ourselves.
Because we've got the same 5, don't we? So it's just a matter of what order to put them in.
Yeah, then we chuck them in like a little popcorn shaker, shake it around, and pull out the top 3. So we weren't going to do any maths, but now we are. So on my line, Smith's got 5. And then
Yep.
Gardner's going to have 4. TK will have 3, Hurley 2, Priv 1. Yours, Gardner 5, TK 4, Priv 3, Smith 2, Hurley 1. You can do the quick maths right there.
Okay, like I cheated. I did it before, so I'm not actually doing this off the top of my head. Don't be fooled by my math skills. We ended up with Laura Gardner. She had 9, so that made her best on ground. So that gives her the 3 points. Smith ended up with 7, which gave her the 2 points, and Kennedy ended up with 6, which gave her the 1 point. And then our honourable mentions were Privatelli and Hurley, and half the team, honestly, did really well. But those 5, I mean, the fact that we both didn't talk about it and came up with those 5 independently says that that was probably the standout 5 for the day.
Yep, they were fantastic. And do we want to talk about our ladder prediction? I mean, our ladder position, I should say, rather than ladder position prediction.
Yeah, I guess we didn't go up, we didn't go down, we ended up 15th. It was a disappointing season in a lot of ways. 15th out of 18th, especially after making the finals and winning a final last year, is definitely a drop-off. But then, like we said, we get a high draft pick now, which is nice.
Yep. It also means my little battle for the ladder, we remained on 15th with 12 points and 73.4% to finish the home and away season above our crosstown rivals, the Giants, on 6 points and 70.4%. So,
yeah, good.
For our last 3 games of the season, we did it. We did it. Well done, Swannies. The little sister has come home strong with the Sydney Trophy for 2024.
And if we look at who made the finals, so actually it's interesting that we've got the crosstown rivalry with the Giants, but then the other 3 teams that I keep a close eye on, usually compared to the Swans, is the other 3 that came in at the same time as us. So the finals: North Melbourne, Hawthorn, Brisbane, Adelaide, Freo, Port, Richmond, Essendon, and that was the final 8. They'll play in the finals for next week. But what I find interesting is that Hawks, Port, and Essendon are the 3 teams that came in with us in that final round of expansion, that are now all in their 3rd season. So in 2022 they came in, and all 3 of those teams made the finals. Hawthorn finished 2nd, Port and Essendon were 6th and 8th respectively. But what that means now is that all of the most recent 4 expansion teams, so yeah, us, Hawks, Port, Bombers, have all made the finals now, and Essendon actually twice because they got in last year as well. So that's a pretty quick jump from being an expansion team to being a finalist, I think.
Yeah, I think as well we should hold our heads high with that, especially in terms of like Hawthorn and Essendon have been really strong teams in the VFL for quite a number of years. They were really building their VFL clubs leading up into them joining the AFLW. So it's unlike the Sydney team. I know we do have the Swans Academy up here, but we don't really have the same system as Melbourne has at the moment. I really hope that Sydney can rebuild and have a similar system to that, so we don't actually have to always be travelling down now to play in the VFL pre-seasons. Like, it was something that a lot of New South Wales and ACT girls did leave the Sydney comp and the Canberra comps because there just wasn't the option of, it was either a Prem Division or AFLW. There wasn't that something in between. And so it did strip, I think, some of the good players out of New South Wales, which is really sad. But I'm hoping now it's starting to rebuild. And as you said, with this NAB league draft coming up, there are some exciting players to pick from. And there seems to be some really strong and powerful and fast and skillful girls who've come up over the last few years. But yeah, we should hold our heads high. I can't really talk for Port. I don't know that much, but definitely playing VFL down in Melbourne, Hawthorn and Essendon were strong for years.
Yeah, it's an interesting looking finals too. I think we can look at the games. We've got who's playing here. So we've got North are going to play Adelaide, Dockers are going to play Essendon, Hawks will play Lions, and Port are going to play Richmond. That's all starting from, well, this week, like a few days. It'll start on, is it first game on Friday, I think, actually, even? Or is it Saturday?
You might be right. We'll have a quick little check again. Yep, Friday. Friday for North versus Adelaide. Saturday, Dockers, Essendon. Sunday, Hawthorn, Brisbane. And Sunday, Adelaide, Port Adelaide, Richmond.
Who's going to win? Tell me, Jen. Who am I backing? Who do you think's going to win? I know who I want to win, but who do you reckon's going to win?
Yeah. It's kind of the same answer, but sometimes it is. It's like, who do I think's going to win? Who do I want to win? I'm just going to go off who I want to win. So I'm going to say North's going to get over Adelaide. Adelaide's been too strong for too long. I think mix it up. North are on the top of the ladder. I think they deserve the win. They've been playing the best team all season. Dockers versus Essendon. I think Essendon will get over the top. I think there's just more star players there, shots fired, but haven't watched too much of the Dockers this year. I've got to be honest. So I'm going to go Essendon. Hawks. Do love Lou Stevenson down in the Hawks. I do have a little bit of a soft spot for the Hawks as well. So I'm going to go for them, especially because they're playing the Lions. And after the season we've had against the Lions, both in the men's and the women's, I cannot go for the Lions. And then Port vs Tigers, I'm going to go for the Tigers. How about yourself?
I got a couple opposite ones. I'm actually changing my mind. I think North are going to beat the Crows, but I want the Crows to win because a good mate of mine, White, is a big Crows fan. One of the guys from our footy team here in Finland. Dockers Essendon. I'm going to say Dockers just because it's in Dockers. It'll be in Perth, won't it? So I guess I'll go for them.
Yep.
The Lions again for the sake of my good mate Grant, good friend of the podcast. I'm going to say the Lions.
How could you?
Also, actually, in the AFLW fantasy. He told me this week that he came 106th overall, I think, out of like thousands, which is pretty impressive. And he had Gardner in there and a few other Swannies. So at least something good came out. You get, if you finish in the top 100, apparently you get he said like a hat or a cap or some sort of prize. So missed out by like a couple. 5. So there you go. Yeah, very, very
well
close.
Done,
he said he was
That's amazing.
Yeah, 10 points. I think he said he was off the top 100, which is like a mark and a goal. That's it. So very close. But yeah, I hope the Lions win that for his sake. Port versus Tigers. I don't care. Like I don't. It's an elimination final. Neither of these teams is gonna be a contender for the flag, I wouldn't think, and I don't really like either team much, but I guess I have to pick someone, so I'll say Port purely for the Erin Phillips connection because she's a gun.
Okay. That's fair.
That's the other reason.
She's not playing anymore.
Yeah, she's not there anymore, but still her aura surrounds Alberton Park, so I'm going to support Port in that one.
Her aura is just all through Adelaide, so you've chosen both the Adelaide teams.
That's true. One thing that was interesting, this article, actually Grant sent me this article, this popped up. It was about the fixtures that the teams had played, that they'd like who'd play who, and this is the problem. And I think this is a chance we can also talk a bit about the imbalanced fixture and what it means for the season. This article is on the AFL website app, and it was who played the most number of finalists in 2024. Brisbane only played 2 finalists all season out of their 11 games. They finished in the top 4. Hawthorn only played 3 finalists for the entire season out of their 11 games. Essendon, Freo, Port, Richmond and Sydney, and 4 of those teams all played only 4 teams that were in the finals. Collingwood, Gold Coast, Giants, North and the Bulldogs all played 5. Crows, Geelong, St Kilda, West Coast played 6, and Carlton and Melbourne, who did not make the finals, played 7. So of the 6 teams with the toughest fixtures, only one of them made the finals.
It's made the finals. Well, I think that kind of speaks for itself, doesn't it? You've been talking about it all season, about the imbalance and just the points as well, the percentages, like the top 3 teams having basically the same amount as the entire rest of the competition. And then when you look at things like that, the clubs with the harder runs throughout the whole season, it's not a fair season so far. I just think I don't understand. It blows my mind why we can't at least play everybody once to begin with, and then I hope eventually, we get to play people twice, because you don't really get a good idea or a good sense of where teams actually are in comparison to other teams. And as you've just pointed out, it's very dependent on the fixture, what can happen. And then very much what we've seen this year with the condensed games, the amount of injuries, so you're not getting your best teams. I mean, I know it's the same for every club. They're all experiencing the same situation. But again, older clubs probably have more pre-seasons under the belt. They're stronger bodies, maybe slightly stronger minds in some situations. So there's already an imbalance there. Why do these type of fixtures? What's your thoughts behind it?
I don't think, at least from the AFL point of view, I'd be amazed if there was any thinking behind it. But what frustrates me too is that, okay, there are some efforts to think, okay, if you finish top last, like Brisbane won the premiership last year, and so on paper at the start of this year they did have a tougher fixture. They did play teams who did make the finals last year, but there's a lot of fluctuation from year to year in terms of which teams are good. We see that teams come in and out of the finals, even if you have a full fixture, like a proper round robin, teams still come and go from the finals. So that's not foolproof, and it can really, really backfire. Like in this case, where Brisbane, the reigning premier, has only had to play two of the teams that it's going to face in the finals. Maybe that works against them. Maybe it means that they're not, conditioned in the finals to having to play against finals quality teams. Who knows? And Hawthorn the same. But what I really don't understand is what you said. Like, why you can't have 17 games at least, and then there seems to be this fear or this reluctance to clash too much of the season with the men's competition. But then they say that, and then at the same time we have 11 rounds, so 11 matches over 10 weeks, and 4 of those 10 weeks clash with the men's finals. So go figure. So it's not even about that. I don't think that they're worried about like cannibalizing their own product. You could start in roughly I calculated roughly round 10 of the men's season. You could start the women's season, and then you could run it all the way through. You could have the end of season running into roughly the time of the men's grand final, and then the women's season takes its pre-finals on the week of the men's grand final, and then we have the women's finals play, and then it's over by pretty much now. Whereas now it's like it's bloody November. Everyone's watching horse racing and cricket, and all of a sudden we've got 4 weeks of finals to come. Like, it's a long year if you follow both men's and women's footy. It's a very long year.
Yeah, I can see both sides of the fence here because for quite a long time there, I was just like, why can't we have double headers? Like, if I'm a Swans fan and I get to watch the women's and the men's play, let's say the Tigers, the women's play the Tigers, the men play the Tigers, great day. I get to watch a full day of football. I'll pay extra for my ticket to watch that. I'll come earlier. Like, fans are fans of their clubs. They love it. So the more football they're having on that day, amazing. So I see that one side of it. I do also see the other flip side of, let's give the women solely focus and let them grow. So there's this double edge. But like you said, people are getting to this time of the year, you're a bit fatigued. You're a bit fatigued out, and it's not fair for the girls because all these metrics of like getting people to the game, getting people watching, and then the condensed rounds injuring people, and then they want these high performance games and not giving them enough time to recover. It just doesn't match up. Nothing is matching yet. And I get that it's still growing, but if it's a thing about fields or something, if it has to go across to cricket, then yeah, condense bring the women slightly more into the men's season and give them access to the proper fields and clubs. Don't cut them short because of some other form of sport that's taking over them, and sometimes it's not even a professional level of sports, it's like a club level cricket game or some BS. So these are meant to be professional players.
Yeah, exactly. And I went to because the A League for both the women's and the men's, they run double headers, and I'm from Central Coast, that's where I grew up, and I was visiting there. I must have been around Christmas, like the most recent Christmas we had, and the women's and men's A League had a double header, and they do it. I think they deliberately do it against like low drawing teams, because I was thinking the Swans, like if it's going to be versus Collingwood, I mean you'll probably sell that out for the men, so it's going to be hard to sort of sneak a double header in, or like Carlton or something like these really big drawing games. But it was Central Coast Mariners versus I think Wellington, which is a low drawing match. You're probably not going to sell that out, or highly unlikely to sell it out and get a good crowd for either game. But they put it together, and we got there in time to watch both games, and it was fantastic. There was already a really, really good buzz around the ground from the start, and we got to watch 2 matches of football, and it was exciting. I really enjoyed it, and I think it's something they could at least experiment with, because we don't know how it's going to work until we give it a go, I guess.
Yeah. And why not let them play in a sold out stadium? Like, just add on a
Yeah,
few extra dollars to the tickets. People are going to do it. Like, it
yeah.
doesn't have to be like double the price ticket now, maybe later, but you know, Get more people there. Get the excitement there. I think it
Yeah.
will make a massive difference. Anyway, we could go
And
on
show it
this
to an
forever.
audience, yeah. We really could do a separate episode just on this. I think if we let's we should probably actually
Wrap it up.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. One other thing, we're up to the one last things, I guess.
Yep.
All Australian team. What do you reckon? Do you reckon any Swans are going to sneak into the squad or even to the 22?
I definitely think Hurley should be in contention. I think they were speaking about that in the not this weekend gone. I'm not sure. I couldn't hear any of the commentators as I was there live, but the week before against the Lions, the commentators were talking about she should definitely be in contention, if not just in there. It's tough, Gardner, with her broken hand halfway through the season, or her injured hand. I'm not 100% sure that it's hard with her missing some games, but the games she played, like her disposals and consistency and efficiency, I still think she should be in contention. What about you?
I reckon those two
BT
for sure.
and BT.
Yeah, I was going to say and Tarrant. Yeah, she's had a great season. I mean, it's going to be a very competitive All Australian team this year, like always. And finishing 15th doesn't exactly help your cause a lot of the time in terms of these sort of individual places in teams or whatever you call them. But she's been really good in the back line, and like one of the reasons that she wasn't in our votes this week was because, like Jen, you said that stat that we only conceded about 20 something inside 50. She didn't have too much to do. She didn't need to mark every other ball that was flying in, but damn, she did when she had to. She was impressive, I think, and I've heard a few commentators even talking about her as a potential All Australian, at least in the squad, and I think that would be good reward for. I think she's been our most consistent player this year. She won't win our best and fairest because I give votes to Hurley every week, but I think Tarrant has been our most consistent player this year, and I hope she gets some recognition on the larger level.
Yep, me too. Upcoming episodes. We are coming to the end of the season for us, so we are going to have another episode coming up for you, lucky loyal Swans fan, a season review. And we have said it in the past, but we are still in the woodworks for trying to get an interview with Miss Tanya Kennedy, my number one vote.
Yeah, I'll be looking forward to hearing that one. Anything else, Jen? Any final words?
Just well done, girls. What a way to wrap up the season with a fantastic win.
Yeah, me too. Really good to see him finish on a high. And I guess we'll see you all soon with the season review. But until then, up the Bloods
and can you Swannies!